They smiled at me while plotting behind my back. It ends tonight. Subscribe and don't miss a second of the revenge. At the airport, surrounded by strangers rushing to their destinations, I never imagined my own family would abandon me like this, leaving me stranded with nothing but a suitcase and a heart full of confusion. But when that silver-haired billionaire approached me with those piercing blue eyes and whispered words that would change everything, I knew my story was about to become something extraordinary. Let me take you back 6 months. My name is Elena, and I was the perfect daughter. 26 years old, always putting everyone else first, always smiling through the pain. My family wasn't wealthy, but we were comfortable, or so I thought. My father owned a small construction company. My mother was a real estate agent. And my younger brother Marcus was the golden child who could do no wrong in their eyes. I had just graduated with my MBA, working 60-hour weeks at a corporate consulting firm, climbing that ladder everyone says you're supposed to climb. But here's the thing nobody tells you about being the responsible daughter. Your family starts to see you as an ATM machine with a heartbeat. It started small. Elena, can you cover Marcus's car payment this month? Then it grew. Elena, we need help with the mortgage. Before I knew it, I was funding my brother's lifestyle while he partied his way through community college, and my parents treated my bank account like their personal emergency fund. But I loved them. That was my weakness. I thought family meant everything. The trip to Miami was supposed to be our big family vacation, a celebration of my father's 60th birthday. I had paid for everything: the flights, the hotel, the reservations at expensive restaurants. $12,000, wiped from my savings account without hesitation because I wanted to see my father smile. We were supposed to fly out together from JFK. I arrived early, like I always do, wheeling my suitcase through the terminal with excitement bubbling in my chest. I texted the family group chat. I'm here. Can't wait to see you guys. No response. I waited at our designated meeting spot near gate 27. 20 minutes passed. Then 40. I called my mother, straight to voicemail. I called my father. Nothing. Marcus didn't even have his red receipts on. Panic started creeping in. Had something happened? An accident? My hands trembled as I checked the flight status. On time. Boarding in 20 minutes. Then my phone buzzed. Finally, it was a text from Marcus in the group chat. Already at the gate, LOL. Where are you? Relief flooded through me. I typed back quickly. I'm at gate 27. Where are you guys? His response made my blood run cold. We're at gate 27. Been here for 30 minutes. Stop playing around. I looked around frantically. Gate 27. I was standing right there. They weren't. I called my mother again. This time, she answered. Mom, where are you? I'm at gate 27. I don't see. Elena. Her voice was cold, distant. Not the warm tone I'd known my entire life. We already boarded. What? But I'm right here. What gate are you? We changed our flight to an earlier one. We're already in the air. The terminal seemed to tilt around me. What do you mean? Why didn't you tell me? There was a pause. A long, cruel pause that felt like a knife sliding between my ribs. We needed some family time without you, she said flatly. You've been so stressed lately, always working, always tired. We thought you'd bring down the mood. Your father and I discussed it. We'll see you when we get back. Then she hung up. I stood there, frozen as the announcement for my flight, their flight, the flight I had paid for, echoed through the terminal. Final boarding call for flight 447 to Miami. They had abandoned me, planned it, coordinated it. My own parents and brother had deliberately left me behind at the airport after I'd spent $12,000 on a vacation I wasn't even invited to anymore. The tears came before I could stop them. Hot, angry tears that blurred my vision as I stumbled away from the gate, away from the pitying stares of strangers who had no idea what was happening but could see a woman falling apart. I found myself at an empty gate in a quiet corner of the terminal, sinking into a plastic chair, my suitcase beside me like a loyal friend. My phone kept buzzing. They were posting on social media already. Marcus's Instagram story showed them laughing at the airport bar. My mother's Facebook, family vacation begins. Palm tree airplane red heart. I wasn't in any of the photos. I had been erased. That's when he appeared. Miss, are you all right? I looked up through tears to see a man in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit. He was in his early 50s with distinguished silver hair, sharp features, and eyes that seemed to see right through all my defenses. His presence commanded attention, the kind of person who walks into a room and everyone notices. I'm fine, I lied, wiping my face with shaking hands. He didn't buy it. Instead of walking away like any normal stranger would, he sat down in the chair next to mine, maintaining a respectful distance. I've been flying for 35 years, he said calmly, looking straight ahead. I've seen a lot of people at airports. Happy reunions, tearful goodbyes, business travelers, vacationers. But I've never seen someone look quite as betrayed as you do right now. Something about his directness broke through my walls. Maybe it was because he was a stranger. Maybe it was because I had nobody else. My family left me, I heard myself say. They abandoned me here after I paid for the entire trip. They planned it. He turned to face me, and I saw something flash in his eyes. Recognition, maybe, or understanding. What's your name? He asked. Elena. Elena, my name is Richard Castellano. He reached into his jacket and handed me a business card. The embossed lettering read, Richard Castellano, CEO, Castellano Enterprises. My breath caught. I knew that name. Everyone in the business world knew that name. Castellano Enterprises was a multi-billion-dollar investment firm that owned everything from real estate to tech startups. This man was a legend. I'm going to tell you something that might sound insane, Richard said, his voice low and serious. But I need you to trust me. Your family will regret what they've done to you today. Not because of karma, not because of coincidence, but because you're going to make them regret it. I stared at him. What? He leaned forward slightly. I built my empire from nothing. Elena, I know betrayal. I know what it's like to be underestimated and discarded by the people who are supposed to love you. I see something in you, a fire that's been dimmed but not extinguished. Let me help you reignite it. I don't understand. I whispered. I'm offering you a position. Director of Strategic Development at Castellano Enterprises. Starting salary, $250,000 plus performance bonuses. You'll work directly under me, learning how I built my empire. And in the process, you'll build yours. My head was spinning. Why? You don't even know me. I know enough. You're intelligent enough to earn an MBA, hardworking enough to pay for an entire family vacation, and foolish enough to let people take advantage of your kindness. That last part is fixable. The first two are invaluable. He stood up, buttoning his suit jacket. My plane leaves in 40 minutes. You can come with me to Boston, start your new life tonight, or you can sit here and cry over people who don't deserve your tears. Your choice. He started walking away. Wait, I called out, grabbing my suitcase and scrambling after him. Just like that. You're offering me a job right here in the airport. Richard stopped and turned, a slight smile on his face. Elena, the most important business decisions I've ever made have happened in unconventional places. I've closed billion-dollar deals on golf courses, in hospital waiting rooms, and once at a funeral. Life doesn't wait for conference rooms. He paused. Trust me, they'll regret it. Something in his voice, the certainty, the power, made me believe him. Okay, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Let's do it. The next 3 months were a whirlwind that changed me completely. Richard wasn't kidding about the position. I was immediately thrown into the deep end of high-stakes business, merger negotiations, investment strategy meetings, portfolio analyses. He mentored me personally, teaching me not just about business, but about power, leverage, and most importantly, how to recognize when people were using you. Your family trained you to be a doormat, he told me one evening as we reviewed contracts in his corner office overlooking Boston Harbor. They conditioned you to equate love with financial exploitation. That ends now. I was learning fast, evolving from the passive, people-pleasing Elena into someone sharper, more strategic. Richard introduced me to his network, CEOs, investors, politicians. I started seeing the world differently, understanding how power actually worked. Meanwhile, my family kept calling. At first, they didn't even apologize for abandoning me. My mother texted, "Hope you're not still upset about Miami." It was actually nice having some family time. You understand, right? I didn't respond. Then the calls became more frequent. They needed money again. My father's construction company was having cash flow problems. Marcus's car had been repossessed. My mother's real estate commissions were down. Elena, why aren't you answering our calls? My father's voicemail said, his tone annoyed rather than concerned. We need to talk about a loan. It's urgent. I listened to each message, felt the old pull to help them, to fix their problems like I always had. But Richard's voice echoed in my head. The moment you give them anything, you tell them that their behavior was acceptable. So I stayed silent. By month 4, I had proven myself invaluable at Castellano Enterprises. I'd helped close a $30 million deal by spotting a legal loophole the other side had missed. Richard promoted me again, VP of Strategic Acquisitions. That's when I started planning. I spent weeks researching my father's construction company, Martinez and Sons Construction. I discovered it was drowning in debt, barely surviving on subcontracted jobs. More importantly, I discovered that his biggest client, Hartley Development Group, was shopping around for new contractors due to quality concerns. I also found out something interesting. Hartley Development Group was a subsidiary of a company that Castellano Enterprises had a significant stake in. I walked into Richard's office with a proposal. "There's a small construction company I'd like us to acquire," I said, sliding the folder across his desk. "It's poorly managed, underwater financially, but it has valuable contracts and equipment. We could fold it into our real estate development division." Richard opened the folder and saw the name. He looked up at me with those sharp eyes, a knowing smile playing at his lips. "Martinez and Sons Construction. Your father's company." "Yes. And you want me to buy it out from under him?" "No," I said, my voice steady. "I want you to let me buy it. With the bonus I've earned and a loan against my future earnings, I have enough. I want to do this myself." He studied me for a long moment. "This is your revenge. This is me taking control of my own story." Richard closed the folder and leaned back in his chair. "There's something you should know about revenge, Elena. It's only satisfying if the person who wronged you fully understands what they lost. Half measures leave you empty. If you're going to do this, do it completely. Make them see exactly who you've become." "I intend to." He smiled, a real smile, proud even. "Then you have my full support. Let's destroy them properly." The plan came together beautifully. First, through our connections at Hartley Development Group, we made sure they heard about Martinez and Sons Construction's financial troubles and recent quality issues. We didn't lie. We simply made sure the truth was impossible to ignore. Hartley pulled their contracts. Without Hartley, my father's company collapsed like a house of cards. Within 2 weeks, they were facing bankruptcy. The bank was circling, creditors were calling, and my father was desperate. That's when I made my move. I had my lawyer reach out with an acquisition offer. A lifeline, someone willing to buy the company, pay off the debts, keep the Martinez name. My father, drowning and desperate, agreed to meet. The meeting was scheduled at a downtown law office. Neutral territory. Professional. I arrived 15 minutes early, wearing a black Armani suit that cost more than their monthly mortgage. My hair was styled, my makeup flawless, my confidence unshakable. I was a different person from the woman they'd abandoned at the airport. When my father walked in with my mother and Marcus, they didn't recognize me at first. They were looking for their lawyer, their buyer. Then they saw me sitting at the head of the conference table, and the confusion on their faces was priceless. "Elena," my mother gasped, "what are you doing here?" I gestured to the chairs across from me. "Please sit down. We have a lot to discuss." My father's face went red. "What is this? Where's the buyer?" "You're looking at her." I slid 3 copies of the acquisition contract across the polished table. "I'm offering to purchase Martinez and Sons Construction. All assets, all debts, all contracts. I'll keep the name out of respect for the work you've done over the years, but make no mistake, I will own it completely." The silence in that room was deafening. Marcus found his voice first. Always the brave won when he thought he had the upper hand. "This is ridiculous. Where would you even get that kind of money?" I smiled. "For my job. The one I got the day you all abandoned me at JFK. The day you decided I wasn't worth taking on a vacation I paid for. The day you erased me from your family photos and taught me the most valuable lesson of my life." My mother's face had gone pale. "Elena, sweetheart, we can explain." "Don't." My voice cut through the air like ice. "Don't try to explain. Don't apologize now that you need something. You had 4 months to reach out, to say you were sorry, to treat me like a human being instead of a bank account. But you didn't. You only called when you needed money again." My father stood up, his chair scraping loudly. "We're your family. You can't do this to us." "I can, and I am." I stood to match him, and I realized something powerful. I wasn't afraid of him anymore. "You taught me that family means nothing if it's only one-sided. You taught me that love without respect is just exploitation. And you taught me that sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who should have protected you. We raised you," my mother cried, tears streaming down her face. "We gave you everything." "No," I said quietly. "I gave you everything. And you took and took and took until I had nothing left to give. Then you threw me away." I walked around the table, standing directly in front of them. "Here's what's going to happen. You can sign this contract, and I'll save your company. I'll pay off every debt, keep every employee, and make sure the Martinez name continues. But you 3 will have no ownership, no control, no claim to anything. You'll be employees if I choose to keep you, or you'll be unemployed if I don't. Or," my father asked through gritted teeth, "or you refuse, declare bankruptcy, lose everything anyway, and I buy it from the bank for half the price. Your choice." Marcus jumped up. "This is insane. You can't, Dad. Tell her she can't do this." My father looked at me with something I'd never seen in his eyes before: fear. Real, genuine fear of what I'd become. "Why?" he asked, his voice cracking. "Why are you doing this to us?" I met his gaze steadily. "Because you did it first. Because you made me feel worthless when I had given you everything. Because you need to understand that actions have consequences, even when they're done to the people who love you." I paused. And because a very wise man once told me, trust me, they'll regret it. The contract sat on the table between us like a bomb. My mother looked at my father. My father looked at Marcus. And slowly, the reality settled over them. They had no choice. I held all the cards now. If we sign, my mother whispered, will you forgive us? I thought about that question, really thought about it. Maybe someday, I said honestly, but not today. Today, you learn what it feels like to lose something you took for granted. They signed, all three of them, with shaking hands and tears in their eyes, signed away everything they'd built because they had pushed away the one person who would have given it to them willingly. After they left the conference room, heads down in defeat, Richard entered from the adjacent office where he'd been watching through the glass. How do you feel? He asked. I sat down, suddenly exhausted. Empty, satisfied, sad, powerful, all of it at once. That's what real revenge feels like, he said, sitting beside me. It's not the triumph they show in movies. It's complicated, because even when people deserve what they get, if you loved them once, part of you still mourns what could have been. Did I do the right thing? I asked. Only you can answer that. But I'll tell you this. You showed them who you really are. You took back your power. Whether or not you rebuild a relationship with them is your choice now. The important thing is that it's your choice, not theirs. The next 6 months transformed everything. I restructured Martinez and Sons Construction from the ground up. I brought in new management, implemented better quality control, and leveraged Castellano Enterprises' connections to secure contracts my father never could have dreamed of. Within a year, the company was not only profitable, but thriving. I kept my father and Marcus on as regular employees, not out of kindness, but because I wanted them to see what the company could become under competent leadership. Every day, they walked into an office that bore their name, but belonged to me. Every day, they watched me succeed where they had failed. My mother tried to rebuild our relationship. She wrote letters, showed up at my apartment, cried, and apologized repeatedly. And slowly, carefully, I let her back in, but on my terms. I set boundaries. I said no when I needed to. I made it clear that our relationship would be based on mutual respect, not guilt and obligation. Marcus remained bitter. He couldn't handle the fact that his boring, uptight, older sister had surpassed him in every way. Eventually, he quit and moved across the country. I heard he's managing a gym now. I hope he's happy. My father was the hardest. We maintained a professional relationship at work, nothing more. Sometimes I catch him looking at me with something like pride mixed with regret, but he never said the words. Maybe he didn't know how. Maybe he was too proud. It doesn't matter anymore. Richard became more than a mentor. He became the father figure I needed. Someone who believed in me without expecting anything in return. Someone who taught me that strength isn't about being cold or heartless, but about knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less. Last month, he made me a partner at Castellano Enterprises. At 27 years old, I became one of the youngest partners in the firm's history. Looking back now, I realized that day at the airport was both the worst and best thing that ever happened to me. Yes, it shattered my illusions about my family. Yes, it hurt in ways I didn't know I could hurt. But it also freed me from a lifetime of being undervalued and overexploited. My family didn't abandon me at that airport. They released me. They thought they were teaching me a lesson about my place in their lives. Instead, they taught me that I didn't need them nearly as much as they needed me. They thought they were putting me in my place. Instead, they pushed me into my purpose. And that billionaire who approached me in my darkest moment, he didn't lie. He promised me they would regret it, and they do. But more importantly, he showed me that I could become someone who would never be abandoned again because I'd learned to value myself. I think about that version of me sometimes. The Elena who sat crying in an airport terminal, feeling worthless and alone. I wish I could go back and tell her, it's going to hurt worse before it gets better. You're going to cry yourself to sleep for weeks. You're going to question everything you thought you knew about love and family. But I promise you, you're going to rise from this stronger, wealthier, and wiser than you ever imagined possible. These days, I book my own vacations to places far more beautiful than Miami. Sometimes I go alone, sometimes with friends who actually value my company. And you know what? I've never once been abandoned because the people I choose to surround myself with now understand a simple truth. I'm not someone you leave behind. I'm someone you fight to keep. So here's my question for you. Have you ever been betrayed by the people you loved most? Have you ever given everything to your family or friends only to realize they saw you as an ATM rather than a person? How did you handle it? Did you get your revenge? Or did you choose forgiveness? Drop your stories in the comments. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear how you turned your pain into power. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life revenge stories. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just getting even, it's becoming someone they can't even recognize anymore. Trust me, they'll regret it.